Namaste friends, welcome to the 14th episode of Musical Musings. It has been an insightful journey for me interacting with best musical minds, best musicians who are my seniors in the music field. So it has been a wonderful journey for me in last 13 weeks, and I hope to continue this to understand the journey of more and more artists, musicians, organizers, so that there is a dialogue between musicians and dialogue between the audience and the musicians. So in this series, today I am really very, very happy that Pt.Anand Bhate ji, one of the foremost disciple of Bharat Ratna Pandit Bhimsen Joshi ji, is joining me today. I am very happy because I also belong to that lineage, as my Guruji Pandit Vinayak Torvi ji is also disciple of Pandit Bhimsen ji. So without much of me talking, I would like to invite Pandit Anand Bhate ji to join us and share his thoughts about music and his musical journey, so that we are all enlightened. नमस्ते आनंद जी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते।
कैसे हैं?
मैं अच्छा हूँ, आप कैसे हैं?
जी ठीक हूँ। I hope you are having a safe time in Pune, because it's been a very scary situation all over India, in fact, and happy to see you here, and thank you first of all for joining me today and sharing your experience.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you. Anand ji, I was reading about you, and I was a bit I felt that it's a very different journey you had in music, if I may say so, because I saw that you first started singing Marathi Nati Geet. Then you started learning about classical music, if I'm not mistaken. So please tell about how the journey in music started in your family, whether you were the first generation musician. Just if you can tell a little bit background about your initial stages of music.
Sure. Actually, my great grandfather was a classical vocal musician, and he was also a stage artist.
Oh.
So he had his own company called Natyakala Pravartak Sangeet Mandal.
Oh.
He was contemporary to the great legend Balagandharva.
Oh.
Yeah, and so we had this music in our home through generations. And although my father wasn't a performing musician as such, but he used to sing very well. Oh. And Balagandharva's songs were the part of our home always. Balagandharva was actually, or is still, a river in our home, and so that's why I had this legacy like that. So when my parents knew that I had a bit of an ear for music, I'm told that when I was 2, 3 years old, if I hear a tune, then I could play it on harmonium.
Oh.
Yeah. So then
I have seen a picture. I have seen a picture of you playing harmonium when you were
yeah.
yeah.
Yes, yes. So then my parents knew that I had a little bit of inclination, and then my father taught me a few Bal Gandharva songs, which I could play on the harmonium as well as sing. So after that, he sent me to Chandrasekhar Deshpande, who was my first guru. So Chandrasekhar Deshpande is a son of Haribhav Deshpande, who was organ accompanist for Bal Gandharva.
Oh, wow.
So Chandrasekhar Deshpande ji taught me Bal Gandharva songs formally. So that was my formal education of the Natya Sangeet. And as you know, classical music is required anyways for any genre you want to sing. So after almost parallel to learning Natya Sangeet, maybe a couple of years after I started Natya Sangeet, I also started learning classical music from Pandit Yashwant Bua Marathe. So that was how it started actually. And then I started giving a few informal concerts of Natya Sangeet as a child artist. And then there were a couple of big concerts which were arranged by Akhil Bharatiya Natya Parishad. And then there was a major concert on Doordarshan. So Doordarshan Mumbai when I was 10 years of age. And that time I was called Ananda Gandharva. And so the Doordarshan concert, they also titled it Ananda Gandharva. So that's how that name became popular actually.
Okay. I just wanted to ask you that you learned from Yashwant Bua Marathe ji. From which lineage he was from? Like which gharana or which lineage he was?
He wasn't from a particular gharana as such.
Okay.
And that in fact proved good for me later on when I went to Pandit Bhimsen ji, because Marathi Guruji actually taught me all the fundamentals of the classical music. So my foundation was ready before I went to Pandit Bhimsen ji. And another thing is that in male singers there is a transition period when the voice actually changes,
yes,
and the scale changes, etc. So during that transition period, Marathi Guruji was he was there to guide me, because as you must have experienced yourself, that is a kind of a tricky period in a singer's career as such.
yes.
And तो वो ट्रांजिशन में जो कुछ रियाज करना जरूरी है, so खर्ज का रियाज, ओंकार साधना, so all that riyaz Marathi Guruji was there to guide me.
Okay. Just to inform that he's a good friend of both of us. Pandit Bharat Kamath has joined, so he's just conveying his greetings to you.
Hi, hello Bharat, how are you?
I just wanted to know that since, as you said, that you started singing Marathi Natya Geet because Natya Sangeet was already there in your family, and your great grandfather he was owning he was running a drama company also. So how was that? How did you feel, or was it your own feeling, or your parents thought that you should learn classical also? So you were taken to Yashwant Marathe ji.
Yeah, of course. I was too young at that time. I must have been around 6-7 years old when I started actually learning Natya Sangeet. So my parents my parents thought that learning only Natya Sangeet is not enough, because that's classical music is the base of all the genres.
Correct.
So even if I was already learning Natya Sangeet, that was there on my parents' mind always, that I should begin learning classical parallelly.
So, sir, that's how you. I mean, I was just reading that almost at the age of, if I'm not mistaken, 13, you made your first trip to US. That's quite incredible. In fact, I mean, for the age of 13, because I know you were very famous at that time for your Natya Sangeet, and people had already, recognizing you. I think in many ways, my career and your career is many. I mean, it's quite similar in many ways. I'll come back to that later on. But because I was also like, at the age of 12, I didn't do a foreign tour, but at that age also, I had already gained some name. I mean, in Karnataka, people knew me already. That he's a small boy, he sings very well. You know that when we are kids, हम जो भी गाते हैं लोगों को normally, and I mean, we sing well, but public will have that what you can say soft corner.
Age factor is
age factor will be there
as well.
So it's really incredible that at the age of 13 you went to US. So how was that tour?
It was like there was a first Brihan Maharashtra Mandir convention. In 1984 when I was 13 years old. So they had one of their organizers, Jayashri Huprikar. So she had come to India when my Doordarshan program was there. So she had heard me that time. So this was in 1981 that she had heard me. And so she wanted to take me there to perform in that convention. So that was the very first convention of Marathi people in US, which happened in Chicago. So later on, when she again came to India, she met my father, and that's how it was arranged. And it was a very nice experience and very different experience, because at that time there was no connectivity as such. Even in the news or even on the TV, we only had one channel, so there was no exposure to the outside world as such. So from that sense, it was quite a nice experience to travel to US and see a different world there. It was almost going to a different planet at that time. And performance-wise, again, there were all the Marathi people who came from all over the US. The number, because it was the very first convention, the number was, of course, in hundreds. Nowadays in BMF convention, it is in thousands. That time also, people had very much enthusiasm because it was the very first convention. And even at that time, a few hundred people had joined and had come to Chicago. So it was very, very nice experience.
Okay. Now I'll come to your turning point in your musical life. That when you came to Panditji, how was you approached him and immediately did he accept, or how was that initial period when you joined Panditji?
I actually met Panditji in the childhood only, when I was 10 to 12 years old, because when I was singing Natya Sangeet, that time Hirabai Bododekar, who was another legendary singer in India. So she had encouraged me a lot, and she actually called me every time somebody, some legend in the music came to her house.
Wow.
And she called me and made me sing in front of them. Wow. So I also met Vincentji first at her house. And then I had a good fortune to also go to Panditji's home that time to and sing a couple of Natya Sangeet in front of him. So that time he also revered Balgandharva very much. So he used to say that I consider Balagandharva also as my guru. So he encouraged me a lot at that time. So that way he knew me as a child singer. And as far as classical music goes, I also had his music was imbibed in my mind through hearing, through listening to him on the radio or few recordings or Savai Gandharva Mahotsav. So since childhood, his music was and the Kirana style was actually imbibed. तो मुझे लगता था कि ऐसा इस स्टाइल का गाना आना चाहिए. So after Pandit Yashwantdua Marathe, I went to Pandit Musings. So my father took me to him. I was 17 years old at that time. And I requested that I wanted to learn from him, and I wanted to learn only from him, nobody else. So that's that's how I requested. And he said that, as you rightly said, it was a turning point in my not only my career but my life when he accepted me as a disciple. The only thing he said was because I was doing a few concerts as child artist. He said that you have to first do a proper. Although I knew a bit of classical music, he said that you have to do proper talim with me before starting the concerts again. So he just wanted to make sure that I don't run after the concerts by just gaining half knowledge. Correct. So that was the only point he made. And it was very much right. And I had no problem because getting to learn from him itself was such a nice thing. So I readily accepted, and then it began. Then he accepted me.
Did he stop you to perform for a few years, or how was like?
Yes. He said that I shouldn't be. I mean, if it was one odd informal concert in, say, I had to sing in, say, some get together in the college or some very small home concert. So he didn't have such objection as such, but he said that I shouldn't be running after the concerts. So that way it was so he didn't actually stop me from singing outside altogether. But I also knew that I have to get as much as possible. So because he was like a Himalaya or like an ocean.
Yes.
So I also wanted to make sure that I do a proper riyaz, and because although, as I said, I had learned the classical music before, but any particular gharana, so that kind of talim I was having for the first time from the Panditji. And which was a good thing also, because I didn't have to unlearn anything which I had learned beforehand. But then it was very, very important. Just listening to somebody and learning from the same person are two totally different experiences.
Definitely.
And although you can imitate up to certain extent by listening to an artist, but getting talim from Panditji was totally a very, very nice experience, which is almost indescribable in words. And getting that talim of Kirana Gharana was very important.
That's what I wanted to know because what has happened is many people have heard. I mean, there may be very few Hindustani music lovers or students, or there may not be even a single person who has not heard Musings' concerts, recordings, or who had his influence in his music. There may be, I mean, a negligible amount of people who have not heard about him or his music. So to learn from him, I mean, it's very, very few people have got that, they are blessed, to sit in front of him, take talim from him. So from which rag did he start? Do you remember which rag he started? And how was the talim like? Like he started with a Vilambit Bandish, or how it was? Just if you can tell us, because people want to know, because very few people are there who are really learned directly from Bhimsen ji, and for a longer period, like how you have learned. That's why I asked this question.
Right. So even before going to any rag, he actually asked me to do the Kharij Sadhana and Omkar Riyaz again in front of. And that went on many months actually, a year or 1.5 years. Although I had learned classical music beforehand, but he still made sure that I did the Kharij Sadhana and voice training to start. Then, say after a few months, he started with Rag Puriya. So that was the first Rag which he taught me. And I always say that Bhimsenji was as great a guru as he was a performer. Because while giving the talim of the Raga Sangeet, he taught me all the aspects of the Gayaki. It wasn't like I just had to listen to him and then try to sing, and then he would correct me. Aisa nahi tha. He actually would start from the scratch, start from how the badhat is done, how the khayal should be properly sung in that those 12 matras, and how the rag should be explored by, as you know, the Kirana Grana style, जो शांत आलापी का वो बहुत महत्व है. Yes. And there is a lot of importance given to merging your sur with the tanpura. Right. And during the badhat, a lot of importance is given to showing the beauty of each and every sur in the rag. Correct. And giving hint of the further sur, and then going there, etc. So this kind of badhat, which is typical to Kirana Ganana. Right. So he actually used to teach me each and every aspect, and then going to Boltan, and then Tam, and then Dhrutalay Bandesh. So that's why it was a proper talim. Because otherwise it is sometimes it can happen that a good performer is always not a good guru. But in Bhimsenji's case, he was equally great as a guru. And talim of Gharana was one thing. And then second important thing was he used to give some tips about how to present in a concert. Wow. So he used to say it in a very short sentences, because he didn't actually talk very much about the music. Yes. He always talked through his music. So he used to say कुछ छोटे-छोटे tips दिया करते थे वो, but which were so much important. For example, how to keep lay of a rag, of a khyal. Depending on the audience, for example, or how to present whatever you want in the given time. So he used to say that आपको जो time मिला है उसमें अच्छा गाना आना चाहिए. Correct. So this is a very basic principle, but when you really think about it, then you start realizing the depth in this sentence. That if you want to present a full rag in, say, 20 minutes time, then how it should be presented, right? And he had demonstrated, or he had thought over it very consciously himself, and that's why वो पहले जमाने में वो LPs हुआ करते थे HMV के, in which if we hear various ragas which Bhimsenji presented in those 20 minutes, it's really amazing because we get a feeling as if we are listening to the whole concert in the space of 20 minutes. Correct. So that is the principle which he used to tell us as well. कि जो time है उसमें अच्छा गाना आना चाहिए. So what content should be put in those 20 minutes. So that he had, as I said, he had thought it thoroughly himself, and he used to tell us as well. So then he taught me 3-4 ragas in the as a complete ragas, and then I used to accompany him on in the concerts as well. Especially in Pune, because I also was doing my engineering in parallel as I was learning from him. So by listening to him, by accompanying him on the stage, then I could then get a lot of things, other things.
As you said, he was he used to talk very less. Whatever interactions I had with him, and I had seen him, I had seen that he speaks very less. वो बात बहुत ही कम करते थे. Sometimes we used to even fear just to stand in front of him, because he was so seriously, the face used to be so serious. But I have seen the other side also of Musings. Luckily, even I had the privilege of meeting him and performing in front of him many times. What I wanted to ask is, like, Bhimsenji was normally in after 80s, if I am not mistaken, 80s or 90s maybe, he used to sing a particular set of ragas in the concerts. Even though he had a huge repertoire of ragas, उनके पास भंडार था रागों का. He knew almost all ragas, but the point is that he chose only few ragas to present as as a ragas in the concerts. Did he teach you any of the Anvat ragas which he used to sing earlier?
No, as far as Talim is concerned, he again chose the big ragas, as we say, that Puriya or Puriya Dhanashri.
Correct.
Because or Todi in the morning. Yes. So as far as Talim goes, he again chose the big ragas. And then other ragas, sometimes it happened that afterwards he used to sing with 2 or 3 disciples we were there, and he used to sing different bandishes and different ragas. So that happened up to a certain extent. But the basic talim always had the big ragas, and he used to say that the point you made about his concerts also. So he had said in some interview that although he was presenting the same ragas, he used to see different content, and that was the main beauty of it. And I think that's the basic principle of Hindustani classical music as well. And he used to say that every gharana has their a few favorite ragas who are basically taught as a talim to disciples. Yes. And every gharana has those set of ragas which appear again and again, because every time the singer can see something new in it. So he was very clear about these things, because I remember this question being asked to him as well in 1 or 2 interviews. So he was very clear in his thoughts about this, that why he did that. And as disciples or as listeners, we used to always experience the rag, although we hear the rag for several times from him. There was always something new. There was always something different when he presented the rag. So that was really the magic, I would say.
No, that's very true, because to sing the same rag so many times and still to hold the audience, that is really, only Bhimsenji can do it. The personality what he had. Sorry, you wanted to say something?
Yes, and the Swara Siddhi that he had. So that was one of the main aspects why this happened, I thought. Because even when we were learning from him, so we used to feel that if we are singing the same phrase in a rag, then when he sang it, it felt something different. There was some divine aspect, we can say, in his sur, in his swara lagav, and that was one of the main reasons, I think, that his music was so much appreciated by all kinds of audiences. That is the a part of the audience. There are people who know the science behind it, or the technique behind it, and then there is a general audience who just wants to appreciate, सिर्फ आनंद लेना चाहते हैं वो. So so his music was such that it appealed to all kinds of audiences alike.
Correct.
And that was due to the effect, the swara laga, the swara siddhi.
Yes.
So what he wanted to say reached the minds of everybody in the audience. That was the siddhi, I think. He had.
No, it's not just the audience. I feel even the artists who came after his generation, whether he belonged to Agra Gharana, Jaipur Gharana, Gwalior Gharana, or Banaras Gharana, every artist across the board, whoever is a musician, a vocalist, especially a vocalist, had so much of influence of Bhimsenji, because I have heard it from many, so-called legendary artists today we have. Most of them used to, I have heard them talking even in the public and even in the private also, that how Bhimsenji was a performer, a musician, that only few people can reach to that level. And not very, very few, only you can count, because that kind of intelligence in music, the sur lagao, the very important aspect of Bhimsenji वो सुर लगाओ, वो ज्यादा नहीं गाना चाहिए, सिर्फ एक सा लगाया तो इतना एक आनंद उसमें, मतलब he used to create that happiness and एक माहौल बांधना, that had so much, was so strong in that, because I heard, because I had in a private conversation with Ulhas ji, Pandit Ulhas Keshalkar, he was speaking so highly about Bhimsenji. He was telling me that he heard once, long back, it must be in 70s or 80s, I don't know, a rag called Jai Mallar, which is a mixture of Malhar, Miya Mallar and Jai Jaivanti from Bhimsenji. And Ulhaji himself told that I didn't know that Jai Mallar can be presented in this way also. Ulhaji, who is one of the foremost singers of Jod Ragas, he himself told this sentence that Bhimsenji presented it so well. So that is the kind of, even recently I heard a recent interview of Pandit Rajan Sajan Mishra ji. They told कि भीमसेन जी का गाना इतना अच्छा क्यों लगता है, because उनका सुर में डिवोशन है. See, it's so important that वो जो डिवोशन है, तो इतना स्ट्रांग था वो, इसके लिए वो इतना लोगों को मतलब छू लेता था. So coming back, this honesty about the sur is guru nishtha, so and his devotion. So that was apparent in all the genres that he sang, and that's the point which I feel is very important. That people sometimes think that bhav जो गाने में है, तो भावपूर्णता is the aspect of only the devotional music or abhang, but I feel that is not the case. Even the swara lagao itself has a bhav. Yes. And that was very much highlighted when we hear Bhimsenji. उनके सुर में ही भावपूर्णता है, yes. स्वरा लगाओ में ही भाव, and that's why उनका classical music भी है. So उसमें भी भावपूर्णता है और devotion है, as you rightly said. So that's one of the very important factors. Yeah. One aspect as a musician, what I feel about his music, I want to know your thoughts about this. Do you think he really belonged to Kirana Gharana? Pure Kirana Gharana? Sorry, say that again. Do you really think that Bhimsenji belonged to only Kirana Gharana? Or did his music belong to Kirana Gharana?
he kept the base of the Kirana Gharana, but then took all the good things from other Gharanas as well. And that's why he sort of expanded, we can say, the scope or created his own style. So that's why sometimes now we call it as a Bhimseni Gaiki or Bhimseni Gharana. So he used to say in a humorous way that the artist should be a thief in good way.
Yes.
Who should be able to steal all the good things from everywhere. Correct. and present it. And in my view, there are two steps in it. That stealing or listening to others and taking good things is the first part. But the second part, which I think is more difficult, is assimilating it in one's own gaiki.
Correct.
And I think Bhimsenji did that very, very in a very good way. Correct. So that it didn't feel कि वो किराना घराने का थोड़ी देर गा रहे हैं और then थोड़े दूसरे घराने का थोड़ी देर गा रहे हैं. It wasn't like that. Correct. All the good things of all the gharanas were assimilated in his own gaiki. Correct. So that's why I feel that kept the base of the Kirana Gharana, but also incorporated the good things of other styles.
Correct, correct. Very true, very true. I mean, even I have experienced this, that he never, like, it was not a compartmentalization. It was like, it was one music of Bhimsenji, which had, the gharanas. As you said very rightly, that small things which he thought when he was singing, especially the last, when we are coming to the sum, the mukda we have to take, and last one, Saraltan he used to take, it used to have such an impression. I mean, the correct timing. The timing of that tan used to, exactly match to that, and it used to end, and the mukda used to start.
Exactly. Very true.
Create how much impression, I mean, how much it used to, hit hard here, in the heart.
Correct.
That's very true. Now coming to the next aspect, I was reading that you have completed your MTech, and you did a job for a few years. So here was the thing which I was telling, that similarities in my life and your life, that we both did job and then we left to do music. How was it managing both the work as well as and I think you were in a higher post also, and music?
It was challenging in some parts, or for a few years it was quite challenging. But the reason I could do both, I would say, first of all, because of my parents, who made sure that even if I was performing as a child artist, my academics were not hampered. My mom was maths professor, so we had academics environment in our house as well.
Yeah,
and later on, Bhimsenji also encouraged me to do both things. So that was also quite unique as a performing artist, and because otherwise he could have asked me to choose academics or music.
Right.
But he didn't do it. In fact, on the other hand, he used to tell people that ये MTech भी करता है और मेरे पास गाना भी सीखता है. So he himself used to encourage me to do both. So time-wise, yes, it was challenging sometimes. But I had support from the guru and support. When I was working, there were slightly flexible timings. But at other times, because it was a software job, as you know, there are no fixed, the project deadlines matter a lot. So it was a balancing act for a few years. But then later on, I had a good fortune of giving playback again in a film, Balagandharva. And that was again another turning point in the career, when I could actually decide to come to the music full time again. So that was sort of the trigger point.
Oh, okay. Because for how many years did you job and then you took the
many years. I did it almost for 16, 17 years.
Oh, okay. Great. So there is a comment from Bharat Kamaji, Shraddha, Nishtha, Bhakti, Sadhana, Tapasya, Yaj, Murta Rup,
Manjet Bhimsenji. Yeah, that's what wants to say.
I mean, I had a privilege of interviewing Bharat Dada also. I mean, he is one person who has spent, I think, the maximum time with Pandit Ji.
He accompanied Bhimsenji for more than 18 years.
Yeah, so it's a great time that he had with Bhimsenji. So we had a long talk with him about Bhimsenji. So student, I wanted to know your thoughts, because most people don't know, because the earlier generation was trained under Bhimsenji. You are one of the, I think, you are the youngest who have learned under Panditji. Because most of his students were like, Madhav Gudi ji, Anand Devdarji, my Guru, Pandit Vinayak Torvi ji. So that's why
he had many generations of disciples.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and other thing is I always feel that he also made a lot of generations of the audience as well. He created new generations of audience. He made them listen to the good music.
Correct. Now coming back to your career after the job, you are a theatre actor as well. I have seen you doing the drama also, and you are into, and you are a classical musician, and you are also very known for your Natya Sangeet and Abhangs also. So how do you balance it out? Because, you may be getting more and more requests for, like Abhangs or Natya Sangeet, because of your because you did a lot of work in that field also, like, Bal Gandharv's जो film था उसमें आपने गाया, and you do the drama on in his name also, and you do a lot of Abhang Vani concerts also, like Bhimsenji used to do, and you are a very good classical musician also. So how do you think that you balance it out?
As far as stage acting is concerned, I wouldn't really say that I'm a proficient stage actor as such, because I have done acting in one drama, which is Sangeet Saubhadra. Which was a very, very good experience for me. And we always hear about this rich tradition of Sangeet Natak that we have. And actually doing that role of Shri Krishna in Saubhadra was really some different and very nice experience for me. Enjoyed a lot. And Rahul Deshpande actually convinced me to do that. And Nipun Dharmadhikari was our director. Who actually took a lot of efforts in editing the play, etc. And so it was a very nice, huge success. But that was just one of thing as far as acting is concerned. And my main
but that happens. The shows happen, no, regularly. The same drama.
Not now. We have done the shows. What we had decided. So as of now, we are not doing shows. Maybe in future we might do a few. But as of now, we have completed whatever we had thought of.
Okay.
And so my main forte remains music or performance as a concert performer, and within that handling various genres. So I think the first thing is that even Bhimsenji or all the legendary singers, I think one common quality that they had was they didn't consider any genre as inferior. So they gave equal importance to classical music, semi-classical, Natya Sangeet, Abhanga, etc. So मेरे ऊपर भी वही संस्कार हुए हैं. And then I also enjoy performing different genres. And as far as performance aspect goes, I feel that there should be a different sort of compartments in the artist's head. As far as different genres are concerned, and then you can handle the different genres well. Otherwise, if they start going in each other's territories, then there can be a problem. So when I'm performing classical music, I only think about classical music and not Natya Sangeet. And when I'm performing Natya Sangeet or Abhanga, I concentrate on that genre. So क्योंकि हर एक जॉनर के पैटर्न्स अलग रहते हैं, स्वर लगाव अलग रहता है, तो इसलिए अगर एक दूसरे में वो पैटर्न्स मिक्स होने लगे, देन वो जरा गड़बड़ होने लगता है. बट अदरवाइज इफ यू हैव क्लियर कंपार्टमेंट्स देन इन योर हेड, देन it's manageable and it's enjoyable.
Correct. Is there any I'm asking some questions for the knowledge of audience also, because most of them may not have the technical expertise to see the changes what we do in the music when we create music. Is there any particular way that the voice is modulated when you sing a Natya Sangeet from the way you have perform a classical bandish? Or is it like, the bandish or the rag structure will help you to develop the Natya Sangeet?
The Natya Sangeet is based on classical music. So your basic swara laga or throw has to be as clear as the classical music. So it's a full-throated kind of expression, not like a Bhava Sangeet. So Bhava Sangeet sometimes requires that you have a very soft swara lagav, etc. So in Natya Sangeet, the swara lagav or the akar is supposed to be very clear and full-throated. But I would say the aggressiveness which we sometimes have in the classical music, so that has to be slightly softened when you sing the Natya Sangeet. So even if it is the same tan, then the zor tan, for example, or the aggressive tan patterns that we have in classical. So in Natya Sangeet, the basic tan का जो गमक तान है, that will remain same, but the aggressiveness won't be there. Especially in the Gandharva Gayaki, he made this very. So Bal Gandharva was made it possible that he. So if he was saying Natya Geet in Yaman, then all the beauty of Yaman was there. So from that angle, it was like a Raga Sangeet. But then that aggressive was not there. So he had his own patterns, which then became so popular that even people now try to sing in the same fashion. Yes. So that this is the subtle difference that you have to do.
Okay. Almost we are coming to the end. So I will ask one question about any special incidents you remember about Panditji. Your association with him has been for a long time. So any specific incident that that the younger generations have to know about it? Any special incidents that would help them to to get into music and to have greater respect towards music. So anything if you remember about your association with Panditji?
Yes, the Swara Siddhi that we were talking about. So we had many experiences, of course, but one particular incident I remember from Savai Gandharva Mahotsav. So as you know, Savai Gandharva Mahotsav is a very big Mahotsav, and all legendary singers, instrumentalists, dance artists. So they come and perform there. And so on that in that particular year, Panditji was going to sing Darbari Kannada. It was after the timings were changed. So it was night time when he had to conclude the Mahotsav. And when we were in the green room and tuned the tanpuras, etc. Before that, before coming to green room, there were many performances that I had listened to. There were many vocal performances, many instrumental or dance. There was a dance performance as well, and the instrumental as well. So that crescendo kind of environment, which happens in such performances. So that was in the mind when we went to the green room and tuned the tanpuras. And Panditji just to clear his voice, Panditji just sang 2 or 3 phrases of Darbari Kannada. And the experience was so amazing, so outstanding, that everything which was in the mind regarding the earlier performances, all of that just vanished. And just in those couple of phrases, he almost had Darbari Kannada in the atmosphere in the green room. Only the atmosphere of Darbari Kannada, nothing else. So that was the kind of Swara Siddhi. So in the first phrase or in the first Shadj, he used to create this atmosphere. So that is a particular incident that I remember, and that's what we call Swara Siddhi, I think.
Yeah. No, and especially he had my Guruji Pandit Vinayak Turuji always says this, that if Panditji was not a musician, if he was something else also, even in that also he would have done the same, he would have reached the same level, because he was an intelligent person. He was too intelligent person. His mind used to work so fast, because I remember one concert in Mysore, Dasara festival, if you know about it, that very big festival happens, and the Darbar Hall concert is the the biggest concert of that entire festival. And I remember as a small kid, I had gone to listen to his concert. He sang Puriya Kalyan on that day, and as soon as he was ending the Puriya Kalyan, it started pouring actually. And there how it is, the artists are sitting in the within the palace. Artists are sitting within the palace. Outside that, it's open air, and chairs are put, people are sitting there. And people were drenched, because suddenly started pouring. And the thinking process, as soon as he ended Puriya Kalyan, it started pouring very heavily. And people were about to leave. And the thinking I'm telling, immediately he started singing the Kannada bhajan, Kaveri Rangana Nodala. I mean, you see the intelligence of that person, because Kaveri Ranganath is there near Mysore. So Kangadi Nyatako Kaveri Rangana Nodada, that song belongs to that region. And people were absolutely, they just came and sat back again. And they were fully drenched, but you see the immediate thinking.
Yeah. Exactly. And I always think that he had the great balance between the crux of the classical music. We always hear that artist sings for himself first and then for audience.
Correct.
So which is true. So artist, so there is something which artist wants to present and go in that mode, etc. So he had all those qualities,
Correct.
but at the same time he was aware, and the presence of mind was there that he was also singing for the audience.
Correct.
So that's the balance between singing for oneself and singing for the audience.
Correct.
And that kind of balance and presence of mind was just amazing.
Yes. I mean, we can go on talking about Panditji, because he is, as you said in the beginning, that he is Himalaya. I mean, all of us, we are just, he is a big tree, under which we are all, sitting, and we are just being blessed by him. We are, I mean, especially so lucky to be his disciple. It's very few people who have that privilege or that blessings to be around him for such a long time. Anandji, thank you so much for taking the time, and it was a pleasure talking to you. I always like talking to you because you are such a mild mannered but you have so much strong musical qualities. It's really wonderful, and on behalf of all the viewers who are here, I would like to thank you for taking out time.
Thank you.
And
thank you very much. It was pleasure. You are doing this nice activity in recent times so that people also get to know more about artists and the music. Yes. So best wishes for your.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you all the viewers for joining today's session. This session will be available on Facebook page of Musical Musings after a day or two. Please, you can watch all the interviews which have happened so that you gain a lot of knowledge that what an artist goes through before he comes onto the performance stage and gives you the good music. So thank you once again all the viewers, and thank you very much Anandji once again for joining me on
this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the viewers, and thank you to you.
Thank you, and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Namaste.